Namaste children. Once again happy to see you all in the virtual class, and in the last class we have seen the three equations of motion, how to derive all those equations, and some numerical problems we have solved. In today's class we will see the graphical representation of motion. In that we will be covering the distance time graph, velocity time graph, and derivation of three equations of motion in a graphical mode, and some of the left out numericals can also be covered. Let us now learn the graphical representation of motion. Dear children, as you know that if anything is represented in a graphical mode, then it is very easy for us to understand. Whatever the motions, that is speed, acceleration, all those things are being represented in a graphical mode so that you can understand the concepts in a better way. In that, the first graph what we are going to see is distance time graph. In distance time graph we need two physical quantities. What are they? The first quantity is distance and the second quantity is time. Look at the picture. This picture shows the distance time graph. In this graph, time is denoted in x-axis, whereas the distance is plotted in y-axis. Now the graph, you can see it is a straight line. Here the straight line indicates it is a uniform speed. That means the distance travelled in unit time is uniform throughout the motion. So when an object moves in a uniform motion, we will get a straight line. So this graph, the slope of the line gives you the speed of the motion. So whenever distance time graph gives a straight line, it indicates that the motion is uniform. Now look at the second picture in which the graph is a distance time graph. In this graph you can see that the graph is not uniform. That means here we are not getting any straight line. Zigzag line we can see here. This shows that the motion is not linear. That means the motion is non-uniform motion. So this graph shows that the distance travelled by the object is not directly proportional to time. If the case is so, instead of straight line we will get a curved line, as you can see in the picture. Now see the third case. In the third graph you can see that here distance and time, as earlier we plotted, same graph is plotted here, and we have got a straight line. Can you say the type of motion here? In the previous section we have seen that whenever a graph gives a straight line, whenever a graph is a straight line, then it is said to be uniform motion. But in this graph, can you say the type of motion? You may be thinking that it is uniform motion. No children, it is not uniform motion. This graph shows that the object is at rest. You see, at each interval of time, the distance is 30 meters. So as the time is progressing further, but the distance remains same, we know that an object is said to be in motion when the object changes its position with respect to time. In this graph you can see that the time is moving forward, but the distance is same. That means the object remains in the same position. Whatever the time it goes, the object remains in its same place. That is why the object is at rest. Students make mistake when they observe the graph and try to identify the different types of motion. In a distance time graph, the straight line parallel to the time axis shows that the object is at rest. From these three graphs we can understand that if the graph gives a straight line, but not parallel to the time axis, then we can say that the object is in uniform speed or uniform velocity. If the graph is curved, then we can say that the object is in non-uniform speed or non-uniform velocity. Now we will see the next graph, that is velocity time graph. As we have seen in the previous section about the distance time graph, in which time is plotted in x-axis and distance is in y-axis. So in order to plot the velocity time graph, velocity is denoted or plotted in y-axis, whereas the time is in the same x-axis. Now we will see the different types of graphs and try to understand how the graph is expressed. Under velocity time graph, first we will see when the velocity is constant with respect to time. So in the graph you can see the velocity is constant over different intervals of time. As a result of this, we get a straight line parallel to the time axis, which shows that the velocity is same for each interval of time. In such case, we get a straight line but parallel to the time axis. In this graph, the acceleration is 0. Why? Because the change in velocity is 0. At each interval of time, the velocity is same. So the final velocity and the initial velocity both are same. So the change in velocity becomes 0. In a velocity time graph, if the speed or the velocity is constant, then the acceleration is 0. We will get acceleration 0. Now we see the second velocity time graph, in which the speed is changing at uniform rate. If the speed is changed at uniform rate with respect to time, then we get a straight line but not parallel to time axis. We get a straight line and in a slanting line, as you can see in the picture. The slope of the graph gives the acceleration, as the change in velocity, final velocity minus initial velocity with respect to time is the acceleration. So the slope of the graph gives you the acceleration. Now we see the third velocity time graph, in which the speed is not at uniform rate, the speed is continuously changing. So the velocity time graph for a non-uniform speed or velocity will give you a curved line. You can see the graph from which it is clear that the speed is not uniform, so the graph is not a straight line. Rather, we got a curved line. So the curved line shows that the motion is non-uniform. So the velocity time graph for a non-uniform motion is always curved, or we can say that a parabola we will get. Children, so far we have seen that how distance time graph is plotted and the velocity time graph. Now we will see how the equations of motions which we have learnt in the last episode are derived by using graph. That means how these equations are derived in a graphical mode. Look at the velocity time graph, in which time is plotted along x-axis and velocity is plotted along y-axis. Now here in this case, a graph is obtained as straight line, which shows that the object is in a uniform acceleration. Now in this graph you can see that the initial velocity is not 0. Here the initial velocity is u at point A. As the object gets acceleration, then it moves, its straight line is obtained, which shows that the change in velocity takes place at a regular interval, or we can say that the acceleration is uniform. So the change in velocity with respect to time is constant. So we can say that the acceleration of
this body is uniform. From here we can see that the initial velocity is not zero. Here initial velocity is u, that means the body is already in motion. From there it gets acceleration and it reaches up to the point B, that is the final velocity. When the time is zero, then the initial velocity is u. But when the time is t, at time t, the final velocity is v, which can be seen at the point B. We have already seen that in a velocity time graph, the slope of the graph gives the acceleration and area under the graph shows, this is the area under the graph shows the displacement. So there is a relationship between time, initial velocity, final velocity, acceleration and displacement. By using this velocity time graph, we can derive the equations of motion. Let us learn how the equations of motion are derived by using this graph.
Now we derive the first equation of motion. From the graph we can see that v is the final velocity whereas u is the initial velocity. So final velocity can be represented by the perpendicular BC. Similarly, the initial velocity can be represented by AO. From the graph we can see that BC is equal to BD plus CD. This can be written as BD is equal to BC minus DC. From the graph we can see that BC is the final velocity and is represented by the letter V. So here we can write BC is equal to V, that is the final velocity, and CD is equal to OA, which is the initial velocity. So here we can write CD is equal to OA, which is again equal to the initial velocity represented by U. Substituting these values in the above equation, we can write BD is equal to BC. In place of BC we can write V, minus CD. In place of CD we can write U. So we mark this equation as 1. We know that acceleration is equal to change in velocity by time. Here the change in velocity is BD and time is AD. So here we can write acceleration is equal to change in velocity, that is BD, divided by the time, that is AD. Here, since AD is parallel to OC, which is equal to T, we can write this equation as BD by OC. Since we know that OC is the time interval, so the equation can be written as BD divided by T. So rearranging this equation, we will get BD is equal to AT. So by substituting the value of BD in equation 1, we get, in place of BD we will write AT is equal to V minus U. By rearranging this equation, we will get V is equal to U plus AT. So this is the first equation of motion which we can derive by using the graph. Now we derive the second equation of motion from the graph. We know that the area under the velocity time graph gives you the displacement. Look at the graph here. The area under the graph gives you OABC. The area under the graph is in the shape of trapezium. Knowing the area of this trapezium, we can find the displacement of the object. So the area of this trapezium can be found out by splitting the trapezium into two shapes. That is, one is OADC, which is in the shape of rectangle, and another shape you can find, that is right triangle, that is ADB. Separately we will find the area of the rectangle OADC and the area of triangle ADB. If we find the area of rectangle OADC and the area of triangle ADB, by adding the area of rectangle OADC and the area of triangle ADB will give you the total area of the trapezium. In this graph, the distance or the displacement can be found out by adding the area of rectangle OADC plus the area of triangle ADB. So from the graph, displacement can be found out by
S is equal to area of rectangle OADC plus area of triangle ADB. Since we know that the area of rectangle OADC is equal to length into breadth, that is OA into AD. We know that the area of triangle ADB is half base into height. Here base is AD and height is BD. So from the graph we know that OA is the initial velocity. We can write in place of OA as U. Here in place of OA we can write U, and AD. Here you see AD is parallel to OC. We know that OC is the time interval. So AD is parallel to OC. So from this we can say that AD is equal to OC. So in place of AD we can write T plus a half. Here once again AD, we know that AD, the value of AD is equal to T. So here in place of AD we can write T. And from the first equation of motion we know that BD is equal to AT. We found out that BD is equal to AT. So here in place of BD we can write AT. So by solving this we will get U into T is UT plus here half T into T square, so here AT square. So this is our second equation of motion which we derived from the graph. Now we learn how the third equation of motion, that is position velocity equation, can be derived using velocity time graph. We derived the second equation of motion by knowing the area under the graph. We have calculated separately the area of rectangle and the area of triangle. By adding the area of rectangle and the area of triangle, we got the second equation of motion. Now we know that the area of trapezium has a separate formula. Now we will see what will we get if we directly find the area of trapezium OABC. So we know that the distance travelled by the object can be written as area of trapezium OABC. In mathematics you must have studied the formula of area of trapezium. So what is that? Area of trapezium is equal to the sum of parallel sides into base divided by 2. So here sum of parallel sides are OA and BC and the base is OC. So by knowing these values, substituting these values, we get the distance travelled is equal to OA plus BC into OC divided by 2. We know that OA is the initial velocity. In place of OA we can write U, and we also know that BC is the final velocity and which can be written as V, and finally OC is the time. By substituting these values we can write the above equation as U plus V into T divided by 2. From the velocity time equation we know that A is equal to V minus U by T, and this equation can be written as T is equal to V minus U divided by A. So by substituting the value of T in the above equation, this equation can be written as 1. So when we substitute the value of T in the equation 1, we get, since we know that A square minus B square is equal to A plus B into A minus B, so V plus U into V minus U can be written as V square minus U square. Hence the above equation can be written as S is equal to V square minus U square by 2A. So this is our required equation, that is third equation of motion, that is S is equal to V square minus U square by 2A.
Hope you understood how these equations of motions are derived from a graph. Now we will see some of the numerical problems. Look at the screen.
Look at the question. A racing car has a uniform acceleration of 4 meter per second square. What distance will it cover in 10 seconds after the start? A racing car has a uniform acceleration of 4 meter per second square. What distance will it cover? Here we have to find the distance covered in 10 seconds after the start. Whatever the physical quantities given in the question, that has to be written first. So what are the quantities given in the question? A racing car has a uniform acceleration. So acceleration is given as 4 meter per second square. Secondly, the time is given. Time is 10 seconds. So we can write time is equal to 10 seconds. Now third thing is, what distance will it cover in 10 seconds after the start? After the start means the initial velocity is 0. So here we can write initial velocity as 0. As per the question, we need to find the distance. That is, S we need to find. That also we will write, but we don't know. Now which formula we are going to use? We know that second equation of motion will do the job. So S is equal to ut plus half at square. Since initial velocity is given, time is given, and acceleration is also given. So by using second equation of motion, we can find the distance traveled by the racing car. So substitute the values in the equation, then by solving this we will get, as we know that initial velocity is 0, so 0 into time is 10 seconds plus half at square. Here a is 4 meter per second square multiplied by time is here 10 seconds, so square of this we have to write. Since the initial velocity is 0, so the whole term gets 0, so we can write here as 0 plus half, here 4 into 4, the square of 10 is 100. So by solving this we get 2, here we can 2 2s are 4, so here we will get 200 meter. So this is our required answer. So when the racing car has a uniform acceleration of 4 meter per second square, after 10 seconds of start, the racing car will cover a distance of 200 meter.
Look at the question very carefully. A car accelerates uniformly from 18 km per hour to 36 km per hour in 5 seconds. Now you have to calculate, number 1, the acceleration, secondly the distance covered. Children, here whatever the physical quantities given, that has to be written as you know well. So firstly, a car accelerates uniformly from 18 km per hour to 36 km per hour in 5 seconds. So what are the quantities given? Here the initial velocity is given and final velocity is given. We know that the initial velocity is denoted by the letter u, and u is given as 18 km per hour. And second thing is the final velocity, which is 36 km per hour. So final velocity is denoted by small letter v. So the final velocity is equal to 36 km per hour. Now in 5 seconds, so time is also given here, t is equal to 5 seconds. What are the quantities we need to find? First one is the acceleration. So that also we write acceleration, we don't know. So acceleration we need to find. Secondly, the distance covered. So S also we need to find. Right? Now, before going to solve this numerical problem, we need to correct the physical quantities. The units need to be seen. Firstly, you see here time is in second, and look at the time in initial and final velocity. Here time is in hour and here also hour, right? So in the last episode we have seen that the units need to be corrected before going to solve the numerical problem. So to correct the units, either we have to convert time into hour, or we need to change the initial and final velocity, which are expressed in kilometer per hour, are to be changed to meter per second. In the last episode we have seen that how to convert kilometer per hour to meter per second by using one step, right? So here, what is that step? Whatever the value expressed in kilometer per hour can be converted into meter per second by multiplying it with 5 by 18, right? So here 18 kilometer per hour can be converted into 18 into 5 by 18 meter per second. Similarly, the final velocity can be converted as 36 into 5 by 18 meter per second. In the last episode, I asked you to memorize the multiplication table of 18. So here you see the first one is 18. So 18 gets cancelled. So here we will get 5 meter per second. Now the initial velocity becomes 5 meter per second. Likewise, you see 36 is the multiple of 18. So 1 18s are 18, 2 18s are 36. So the final velocity becomes 2 5s are 10 meter per second. So this way we have corrected all the units. Now we can move to solve the numerical problem. As we know the formula of acceleration, right? A is equal to final velocity minus initial velocity, which is the change in velocity divided by time. As you can see in the question, final velocity is given, initial velocity is given, and time is also given. So by substituting the value of v, u and t, we can find the acceleration. So A is equal to final velocity is now 10 meter per second minus initial velocity is 5 meter per second divided by what is the time? Time is 5 seconds. So now solving this we will get 10 minus 5 is 5 divided by 5. So here 5 gets cancelled. So here acceleration will be 1 meter per second square. This would be the acceleration if a car accelerates from 18 km per hour to 36 km per hour in 10 seconds. So we have calculated the first part, that is acceleration we have calculated. Now we will solve for distance. So from the second equation of motion, we know that s is equal to ut plus half at square, right? In the question, initial velocity is given, time is also given, acceleration just now we have found out. So by substituting the value of initial velocity, time and acceleration, we can find the distance. So how can we find? Substitute the values. So s is equal to initial velocity is 5 meter per second into time is 5 seconds plus half. A is just now we have found out 1 meter per second square multiplied by time is 5. So we have to write square of 5. For sake of simplicity, we just discard the units so that our calculation process will become very easy. So by solving this here, 5 into 5, that is 25 plus half, then the square of 5 is 25, and multiplying it with 1 will give you 25. So multiplied by 25. Further solving this, we will get 25 plus half of this 2 here, 12.5 we will get, right? So 12.5. So further solving this, we will get 25 plus 12.5 is 37.5 meter. So this will be the required answer. So this way, such type of numerical problems can be solved.
Based on today's learning, I would like to give some home assignments which you can practice at home. Here is your home assignment. I hope you can do all these home assignments which I have given. Keep practicing. If you have any doubts, contact us for its solution. Keep going, keep learning. That's all we have for today. In the next episode, we will be seeing about some of the left-off numericals and uniform circular motion. Until, take good care of yourself. Bye.